Hi everyone, my name is Austin, and as we reach the conclusion of the summer of Jim, and all the kids go back to school, get ready for going back to school, the teachers get ready for the kids coming back to school, and all the parents are packing lunches and stuffing them in there like a Thanksgiving turkey, that's for later, it is important to remember one thing and one thing only. Jim Carrey had one of the best years ever in 1994. We've already covered 2 films, but now we've come to the finale, the last film that he did in 1994, and one of my favorite comedies of all time. But before we decide to do that, let's talk about some of my favorite comedies of all time. Let's start from the beginning. Now I know what you're all thinking. That was rather quick, and there should be a voiceover. Well, there could have been a voiceover, but that would have taken too long, so I just figured I just let a bunch of lists scroll. So, yeah, with that, let us begin today's episode and the conclusion of the Summer of Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, I have 2 DVDs. What does this mean? Doesn't mean nothing. Anyway, today I'm reviewing Dumb and Dumber. Yes, I have 2 DVDs. One has the less than stellar prequel, the other is the unrated cut. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about it. The plot goes something like this. Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn are 2 kind-hearted men with brains the size of peanuts. They live in Providence, Rhode Island, as roommates and best friends, with Lloyd working as a limo driver and Harry doing a dog grooming gig. One day, while driving a woman named Mary Swanson to the airport, Lloyd notices a briefcase she leaves on the terminal, which he attempts to return to her, not knowing that it actually contains ransom money for her husband Bobby. Upon the both of them losing their jobs, being followed by the captors of Mary's husband who trash the place and kill Harry's parakeet, Lloyd suggests he and Harry venture to Aspen to return the briefcase, which he initially says no to but ultimately agrees to do. As you can imagine, the 2 set off to deliver the briefcase while being followed by the crooks. All the while, hijinks ensue and shenanigans proceed to follow Harry and Lloyd throughout their adventure. Yeah, this is not a deep plot, not even by a shred of a mile. But it works, and in a movie like this is all the plot you need for such an adventure like this. Attention! Production segment commencing in 3, 2, 1. The production started, shockingly, through the eyes of one man. A man who wrote and directed 2 of my favorite movies, and helped make some of the funniest comedies and greatest teen films a reality. The man in question was John Hughes, the man behind such classics as 16 Candles, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone, National Lampoon's Vacation, etc. John Hughes, the man who inspired me as a whole and helped mold not just my taste in films, but also my sense of humor and way of thinking. And Dumb and Dumber started with him. Anyway, according to Kirk Honeycutt, the author behind John Hughes, A Life Better in Film, the genius behind Ferris Bueller, The Breakfast Club, Home Alone, and more, the project started with Hughes, who wrote an incomplete draft that he eventually dropped, sold to Peter and Bobby Farrelly, and then had his name removed from the writing credits. Meanwhile, the Farrelly brothers had been trying for a while to get their first movie made, for which Peter Farrelly's agent encouraged him to make his own movie alongside his brother Bobby, so as you could probably tell when Hughes sold them the draft, they were probably pretty ecstatic.
Jimmy Paw!
When they were casting actors for the film, Gary Oldman and Nicolas Cage were originally intended for Lloyd and Harry respectively, at least according to Splitsider, while Steve Martin and Martin Short turned down the role of Lloyd, and Chris Elliott and Rob Lowe were considered to play Harry, which, if that one about Gary Oldman is true, then between this and Alan Rickman nearly playing Ace Ventura, that would have been something. Something that would have been worth covering for how bonkers that sounds. By the time Jim Carrey was being considered for Lloyd, the Farrelly brothers had no clue who he was, other than he was that white dude from In Living Color, which is the most common recurring trend throughout these reviews. Because Carrey wasn't an established star, a lot of studios and filmmakers were taking a huge risk casting him, as this was before movies like The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind showcased just how good he could be as an actor. It was only when the Farrellys saw Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, which was pretty much his big starring role, having been mostly a supporting actor up to this point, with appearances in films like Peggy Sue Got Married, The Deadpool, and Earth Girls Are Easy, that they realized they had a winner on hand. Following Ace Ventura: Pet Detective's box office success, Carrey managed to negotiate a $7 million deal to make Dumb and Dumber a reality. Moving to Harry's casting, Nicolas Cage tried to get a $2 million increase in his salary when he was proposed as Harry's co-star. But New Line Cinema was pretty much like, yeah, no. So who's this Jeff Daniels we've been hearing about? I heard he was in Speed, and that was awesome! For which he was paid $50,000. Although Cage has said that he turned down the film to do Leaving Las Vegas, which won him something Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels deserved just as he did. Originally, New Line scoffed at the idea of having Daniels in the role, as he was seen as more of a dramatic actor at that point. But Carrey and the Farrellys insisted they cast him anyway, which they eventually caved in, but did try to dissuade Daniels by offering him the amount of money one would spend on a bunch of collector's editions for certain movies, TV shows, or video games. Daniels accepted, however, even though his agent said that it would kill his career faster than I kill mozzarella sticks. That last thing to note is that Jim Carrey's chipped tooth is real. Having had a cap following a fight with a classmate in childhood, only removing the cap when he was playing Lloyd. Which, if that wasn't convenient enough, I don't know what is. Now then, let's discuss the filming locations. For the filming locations, the scenes in Aspen were filmed in Breckenridge, Colorado, and Park City, Utah. Coincidentally, the latter is where the Sundance Film Festival is held. While the Stanley Hotel, the inspiration behind the Overlook Hotel from Stephen King's The Shining, was made into the Danbury Hotel for the movie's filming, with the bar scene and staircase shots being those filmed there. The scenes in the snow, meanwhile, were done at Copper Mountain, Colorado, coincidentally the filming location for one of Jim Carrey's lesser-known films, Copper Mountain. Some of the exterior street shots were done in Salt Lake City. I'll give you a moment to look up how many films were shot there. And the airport scene was filmed at Salt Lake City International Airport, which was where Airport 1975 was filmed. Some scenes in the beginning were shot in Providence, Rhode Island, a common setting for a lot of Farrelly Brothers movies, with the metropolitan area being of particular interest, with many skylines and the big blue bug being shown, while the beginning of Harry and Lloyd's road trip, supposedly, was shot with locations in Cumberland, Rhode Island, and other parts were filmed in Ogden, Utah, and American Fork Canyon. And with that, let's get to my final thoughts and wrap up the Summer of Jim. In tradition of the previous two films, I also had the VHS tape for Dumb and Dumber, which I remember putting in my VCR quite a bit, and it had two other trailers before the film. One I have seen and the other I have never seen. The film I have never seen and only remember the trailer for was National Lampoon's Senior Trip, which featured Boom Shakalaka, and said trailer featured Jeremy Renner in his film debut, Matt Frewer as the principal, Tommy Chong as the bus driver, Kara Strong as the so-called school slut, and Kevin McDonald as a Trekkie crossing guard, and currently holds 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I really don't need to see that movie right now. So the other film was Friday, which is really funny and definitely a film that's worth seeing. So that's what I remember about the film other than the film itself, which I think is all I ever saw was the opening, and that's it. Thankfully it was later in life where I finally sat down and actually watched the movie, getting that double pack I showed the opening at a Target, as it was right around when Dumb and Dumber 2 was being released. And well, I watched both movies on that DVD, and while one film hasn't aged all that greatly, Dumb and Dumber has aged very well, and it's still a great movie worth watching today. So why is it so stinking funny? Well, let me just go over some of the funniest scenes in the movie. These scenes include Lloyd falling off the runway, Lloyd and Harry tricking Seabass into paying their bill, Lloyd pissing into some empty beer bottles and the cop drinking one of them, Lloyd's dream sequence, Harry and Lloyd singing Mockingbird following something I'll get to later, Mental's demise, Harry's foot catching fire, and Lloyd having a not-so-dignified reunion with Seabass, the scene at the gala, which results in a Silence of the Lambs reference, and the death of an owl. And of course, the scene of Lloyd giving Harry laxative-laced coffee, resulting in the funniest toilet scene to ever grace cinema. That last one usually triggers these responses.
Thank you. I haven't laughed like that in a long time.
So yeah, this movie's hilarious, and that's no small feat due to the talent on display here. As while the writing is pretty good, it's the performances that sell it. For starters, Jim Carrey is fantastic here as Lloyd, making the character work phenomenally. As Lloyd, Carrey makes it clear that he's the dumber in the film's title, being the slacker who pretty much can't hold a job worth a damn, and even though he sometimes stabs Harry in the back, still maintains likability so that he never comes off as annoying or obnoxious. I can't think of anybody other than Carrey playing this role. I mean, who else can give us the most annoying sound in the world?
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Plus, he gives us these classic zingers.
Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie. Good thinking. Can't be too careful. A lot of bad drivers out there.
It's okay! I'm a limo driver! I got robbed by a sweet old lady on a motorized cart. So he says, "Do you love me?" And she says, "No, but that's a real nice ski mask." We landed on the moon! I desperately want to make love to a schoolboy.
But Carrey wouldn't be complete without his co-star, Jeff Daniels, who, as you can tell, plays the dumb in the film's title in the form of Harry. As Harry, Daniels is certainly an airhead, but is somewhat more competent than Lloyd, at least he can breathe, and is generally the one that gets into a lot of situations, usually beyond his willingness. While Daniels has flexed his comedic chops in films like Purple Rose of Cairo and Something Wild, he was mostly seen as a dramatic actor. Just look at Gettysburg, crying out loud. And with this film, Daniels was seen as not only a comedic actor, but also an incredibly versatile actor. And I gotta say, he's great here. And he also gives some pretty funny lines.
You know, on second thought, you might just want to run a comb through him. What are you, a camel?
No, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing. Yeah.
She gave me a bunch of crap about me not listening to her enough or something. I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention. But the thing...
Nice set of hooters you got there.
I beg your pardon?
The owls, they're beautiful.
Hi there. Say, kid, you wouldn't happen to have a cup of warm water, would you?
The other actors also give good performances, including Lauren Holly as Mary Swanson, the woman the guys try to return the briefcase to, inadvertently wooing them over despite being married, Mike Starr as Joe Mentalino, one of the people who try to eliminate Harry and Lloyd, only to accidentally end up dead when he tries doing so, Karen Duffy as J.P. Shea, Mental's partner in crime, and the late Charles Rocket as Nicholas Andre, the man pulling the strings behind the scenes and who's holding Mary's husband hostage, and the really only notable role other than Dave Dennison in Hocus Pocus that Rocket had going for him after being let go from Saturday Night Live during the infamous 1980-81 season where he was fired for dropping the F-bomb. Plus, keep on the lookout for Terry Garr as Helen, Mary's stepmom, Victoria Rowell as Beth Jordan, an FBI agent posing as a talkative woman who's just left her boyfriend, Cam Neely as Seabass, the short-fused trucker who gets into various encounters with Lloyd and Harry, Harlan Williams as the cop that pulls the two over, Lynn Shay as Mrs. Marty Nugeburger, Harry's customer, who he messes up the dog order for, Felton Perry as Detective Dale, and Brady Bloom as Billy in Force. The movie also has good cinematography, being performed by Mark Irwin, who's worked with the Farrelly brothers on movies like Kingpin, There's Something About Mary, and Me, Myself, and Irene, plus two of my favorite movies, The Dead Zone and Scream. It helps enhance a lot of the comedy, focusing on the characters' expressions and facial features, as well as body language and movements, ensuring that the laughs are well shot, and that it looks competent. I like that. The movie also has good pacing, making sure that it goes from joke to joke to joke without missing a beat, and not dragging on for too long out of fear of it turning into the next presidential debate, or my best friend's brother's bachelor party. That was awful. And to wrap it all up, the music is pretty rock solid, with much of the score being done by Todd Rundgren, including use of his song Can We Still Be Friends, and being filled with some pretty 90s sounding tunes. These include Apache Indians' Boom Shakalak, the Primitives 95 mix of Crash, Mary Moon by Dead-Eye Dick, New Age Girl, sorry, titles are very hard to get right, and Gigolo Ants' Where I Find My Heaven, all being pretty tasty jams, all things considered. It's a type of soundtrack you put on for a good time, which is something you always get with this film. And overall, Dumb and Dumber is excellent, and one of the funniest movies of all time. The movie was released on December 16th, 1994, and managed to gross $247.3 million on a budget of $17 million, becoming the 7th highest grossing movie of that year. In terms of reviews, Roger Ebert wasn't a big fan, but did praise Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, and found the dead parakeet joke hysterical. While Stephen Holden of the New York Times deemed Carrey the new Jerry Lewis, and Peter Stack of the San Francisco Chronicle called it a riot, praising it as both a crude and slapstick comedy, and a smart comedy at the time. The movie has since become a cult classic, and is often considered one of the best comedies of the 1990s, which launched the career of the Farrelly brothers, established Jeff Daniels as a gifted comedic actor, having mostly been in dramas, and revitalized his Hollywood career, and helped cement Carrey as an acting tour de force during the 1990s. The movie even ranked 445th on Empire Magazine's 2008 list of the 500 greatest movies of all time, and the line, "So you're telling me there's a chance," became a meme, typically as a sarcastic reaction to impossible yet still not zero odds. Although, let's be honest here, this movie is just meme material all around. The movie even received an animated series, much like the previously covered films, in 1995 from Hanna-Barbera, which became the last Hanna-Barbera show that aired on anything but Cartoon Network, and had Matt Frewer voicing Lloyd and Bill Fagerbakke as voicing Harry, which now makes me wonder what Jim Carrey would look like playing Max Headroom and if Jeff Daniels could pull off a Patrick voice. The show also named the guys' van Otto and featured a purple beaver named Kitty who appeared to be smarter than both men. It only lasted one season and was actually the last non-Disney Saturday morning cartoon that ABC aired. The movie then got a prequel in 2003 with Dumb and Dumberer When Harry Met Lloyd, which had no involvement from anyone from the original film, and minus the scene of Bob Saget exclaiming there's feces all over the wall, when in reality it's chocolate, it's not exactly worth watching. The movie then got a sequel in 2014, 20 years after the original, in the form of Dumb and Dumber 2, which I've only ever seen once, which was about 8 to 9 years ago, but I didn't hate it, although the original is definitely superior to both films due to its longevity and overall charm. So yeah, it was a big success, and also gained Carrey plenty of attention. In fact, all of these films gained Jim Carrey lots of buzz, as all these films helped catapult him from just the white guy from In Living Color, or that one dude from that movie with Kathleen Turner and Nicolas Cage. Between the financial success of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, it made Carrey a bona fide star, and helped really build his fan base. It then led him to starring in many other movies during the 1990s, including Batman Forever, The Cable Guy, Liar Liar, The Truman Show, and Man on the Moon, with the latter two being an excellent showcase of his acting talent. Carrey's reign also continued into the 2000s, with movies like Me, Myself, and Irene, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Bruce Almighty, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Fun with Dick and Jane, Horton Hears a Who, Yes Man, and A Christmas Carol, also gaining him plenty of success. However, his career also slowed during the 2010s, with appearances in relatively mediocre films, as well as personal problems and controversies, causing his career to dip quite a bit compared to the 1990s and 2000s. Trust me, when I looked up some of the films in his filmography, at least two of them feel like bargain bin DVD fodder you'd find at Dollar General or Walgreens. Thankfully, his career began to pick up in 2018 with the lead role in the TV series Kidding, which got him plenty of praise, and of course making a full comeback with the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, with Carrey's portrayal of Dr. Robotnik, aka Eggman, being well received, feeling like the Jim Carrey we saw back in the 90s, and helping to prove that good video game movies do in fact exist. While he may be retiring, I hope he still plays Eggman in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, because no one can top the zany energy and craziness that Carrey brought to that role. I owe a lot to Jim Carrey, as he helped inspire me to want to entertain others, and a lot of his movies are childhood favorites of mine. Not to mention, is a very versatile actor who is really deserving of an Oscar nomination. Same goes for Jeff Daniels. He's truly one of a kind, and I hope as time goes by, we will still be watching Jim Carrey movies for years to come, because he's helped inspire me and entertain an entire generation of people, including Takato Matsuki, Davis Matamiya, Tenya Ida, Gurr, and Jimmy Neutron. So here's to you, Jim.
Thank you for everything.
So that is Dumb and Dumber.
I like it a lot.
It's a great movie, and I highly, highly recommend it. Whether you decide to pick it up in the underrated version or the theatrical cut, you don't really need to see the unrated version, but it is an option if you feel you need to see it. It mostly just has some scenes that, depending on your mileage, will either be completely fine or completely unnecessary. Personally, they're not necessary, but it doesn't hurt the movie for me. Anyway, whichever version you decide to pick up, and whether you decide to pick it up on DVD here, preferably without this movie here at the bottom, or you decide to pick it up on Blu-ray, Dumb and Dumber is hilarious and a film that you've got to see. It's well written, well acted, it's got an excellent soundtrack, good cinematography, it moves at a good pace. It's a great movie, and a funny one at that. It's one of the best comedies that you gotta go see at least once or twice, and if you're like me, you've probably seen it more times than you'd like to admit. It's overall one of the best comedies ever made, and really one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies of all time. It's a film that made me truly appreciate Carrey for who he is, along with the two movies I just covered, and many other movies. Some of which maybe I'll cover on the show, maybe I won't cover on the show. It all depends on yours truly. If he wants to do another Summer of Jim. Personally, I'm not going to do that next year. I got something a bit more personal to tend to next year. But you won't know until next year, so sit back and relax and watch the show. And so with that, this concludes my review of Dumb and Dumber and the Summer of Jim as a whole. I hope you enjoyed it, found it entertaining and educational, and made you want to go seek out this movie and the other two movies, because, well, they're some of the funniest movies of all time, and anyone who doesn't see them, I don't know what to tell you, but you are, the who is the her. Yeah, I had to get that out of my system. Anyway, so with that, with all this wrapped up, I'm going to give you the basic YouTube gist, which is, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for notifications, share it with all your friends, leave a like, and let me know in the comments down below what your favorite Jim Carrey movie is, because chances are you're going to leave one of those down there somehow. And, oh yeah, hit the bell so you get notifications of when I get a video out or something. Yeah, that basic YouTube just like, comment, subscribe, do all that crap. And so with that, I will catch you later. I'll see you next time.
You seem so far away, and I just need to hear your voice. I just need to hear you say